A young woman sits on a chair in front of a police officer. She looks exhausted, drained, and defeated. Police officer: Miss, I understand that you've been scammed out of your money, but unfortunately, you're not the only victim. This scheme has affected many people. Young woman: But when will I get my money back? I have nowhere else to go. Police officer: The investigation is ongoing. We'll inform you if there's any progress. She slowly stands up and leaves the station, staring at her phone with empty eyes. She stands outside the police station, replaying the past few moments in her head. Young woman, muttering to herself, how did this even happen to me? She lifts her phone and dials a friend. Young woman, on the phone. There are so many victims, not just me. Friend on the other end. What? Have you filed a case? Where are you now? Young woman, I'm in front of the police station. What should I do? I feel so stupid. Friend, come over to my place. At the very least, let me buy you a meal so we can talk. She stands in front of the station, gripping her phone tightly. The night air is cold, and the distant sound of cars passing by fills the silence. Her voice trembles slightly. Young woman, are you really sure it's okay for me to come over? I really appreciate this. I'm sorry, I keep depending on you. A short pause. Her eyes glisten with unshed tears, her face flushed with emotion. She tries to hold it together but is on the verge of breaking down. Friend, on the phone. Hey, don't apologize. It's nothing. But what about work tomorrow? Should I talk to the team leader for you? Quickly, nervously. No, I'll handle it myself. Thank you. She hangs up, staring at her phone before sighing deeply. She starts walking slowly, lost in thought, thinking. Of course, things would be easier if Hyunwoo spoke up. He's the CEO of the company, after all. She walks down the quiet street, her head lowered. Her mind drifts, not to her own past, but to his. A memory surfaces, Hyunwoo, in his early 20s, stepping off a plane in the US, eyes filled with determination. Years ago, Hyunwoo moved to America. With his older brother and a few colleagues, they developed a game that became a global sensation. Now he's a famous developer, managing the game development division at. She looks down at her phone while walking, her mind still trapped in memories. He's been my childhood friend for 15 years. Compared to him, I'm just a regular employee who barely started working. She remembers when she first joined the company and carelessly mentioned knowing Hyunwoo. The rumors had spread like wildfire. Since then she had been careful. Suddenly her worn-out slipper slips off and she stumbles, falling onto the pavement, muttering to herself, I really need to throw away these cheap slippers. She looks up from the ground and sees a sleek, expensive car parked nearby. The owner steps out, a tall man in an elegant suit, his strikingly handsome features almost sculpted. He looks down at her with a neutral expression. Man. Puppy? She blinks in confusion. Man. Are you really walking your puppy without a leash? That's dangerous. Still puzzled, pointing at her lost slipper. Are you talking about my slipper? The man follows the direction of her finger, hesitating for a moment. Man, thinking. Who names their dog Slipper? But then he spots the slipper on the ground and frowns, irritated. He bends down, picks it up. You don't have to pick it up for me. Before she can finish, he casually tosses it toward a nearby trash bin, but misses. Stunned. What? Man, expression unchanging. It was blocking the way. It just happened to land near the trash can. Man, straightens his suit. Be more careful in the future. It could lead to an accident, don't you think? She just stares at him, dumbfounded. Young woman, thinking. No. It was your ridiculous misunderstanding that made you stop your car in the first place. Is everything just about looking good for you? She squints, suddenly feeling like she's seen him somewhere before. Wait a minute. Have we met before? He chuckles, a small smirk appearing on his lips. Man. If that's your flirting line, it's a bit
Cliché, don't you think? She gapes at him, utterly confused. He turns away, heading back to his car. Man, I don't have time for pointless small talk. Have a good night. She watches as he drives away, frustration boiling inside her, thinking, did he seriously think I was flirting with him? Still fuming, she gets on a bus, staring at her destroyed puppy slipper, and thinking, how can someone be so rude? Just because he's rich, he thinks he can treat people like that? She sighs, thinking, well, I can't deny I envy his wealth right now. She arrives at a large house and knocks on the door, mumbling to herself, muttering, why does a single person need a house this big? The door opens. She starts to call for Hyunwoo but freezes in shock. Standing in front of her is the rude stranger from earlier. Both of them stare at each other, equally bewildered. Man, are you a stalker? Offended, still trying to process the situation. Excuse me? Man, calmly. Well, who else would be a stalker here besides you, coming all the way to someone's house like this? Is this about what happened earlier? No, I should be the one asking you. Before she can finish, another voice comes from behind him. Hyunwoo. Bro, why are you just standing there? Wait, isn't that Yoon-seo? The man in the doorway stays silent, grinning. It's freezing outside. Come in. Yoon-seo stands at the doorstep, her mind spinning in chaos. Then realization hits her like a wave. Whispers in shock. Jungwoo?
Hyunwoo and Yoon-seo have been friends since childhood and are the same age. They became close in elementary school and have stuck together ever since. This year marks their 15th year of friendship. Time sure flies quickly. Hyunwoo was popular from a young age, and he had an older brother who was just as well known. However, popularity and good manners don't always go hand in hand. Congratulations on your graduation, 223, Yoon-seo heard from behind her. She turned around and saw Jungwoo. Thank you, but why 223? She asked, confused. In the second semester of the final exam, out of 247 third-year students, the one who ranked 223 left this at my house. If you were trying to surprise me, you succeeded. It's such an unusual number that I think I'll remember it for a long time. She blushed, feeling a mix of emotions. Even back then, he was tall and handsome. Other girls referred to him as the perfect human. But to her, he was just someone who couldn't even remember other people's names. To be honest, he was quite annoying. Now in the present, they sat at the table, two brothers in front of a girl whose world had just turned upside down. It's been almost 10 years, right? Go on, say hi. Hyunwoo nudged. Heh. Hello, Yoon-seo said awkwardly. The situation felt a bit weird, but now she understood why he had looked so familiar. He hadn't changed at all, still as tall and handsome as ever. It's been a while, 223, Jungwoo said in a calm voice. Well, at least you're not a stalker, so that's a relief. Hyunwoo, not understanding the situation, kept switching his gaze between them. So, Hyunwoo, you want this kid to stay here for a while? Jungwoo asked his brother. Yoon-seo, still trying to grasp what was happening, blinked in confusion. Are you saying I'll be staying here? Hyunwoo, that's a bit... A firm voice suddenly echoed through the space. I'm against it. I get extremely uncomfortable when someone invades my personal space. She didn't know what to say or do in that situation. Jungwoo was already throwing out alternatives like lending her money, which was out of the question. It's okay. I'll figure something out on my own. Thanks for at least offering, Hyunwoo, she said. The two brothers glared at each other. Yoon-seo starts work tomorrow and there's nowhere suitable for her to stay, Hyunwoo said firmly. Jungwoo turned to Yoon-seo. Get a grip. How far are you planning to take responsibility for her? Are you her mom? Jungwoo didn't trust her. Yes, she was his old schoolmate, but those times were long gone. She came to you instead of her parents, knowing full well that you're wealthy. Doesn't that seem suspicious to you? Yoon-seo was taken aback. I guess Hyunwoo didn't tell you. Well, it makes sense. You were abroad in America when my parents had a car accident while traveling. And just as you said, he cannot take responsibility. I got scammed, not him. I have no intention of being a burden because of this. I just wanted to see a friend's face in difficult times, that's all. So I'd appreciate it if you refrained from saying things like that. Silence filled the room as they stared at each other. Later, Yoon-seo and Hyunwoo stood on the rooftop terrace. He was apologizing for his brother's behavior. Even for Hyunwoo, it was strange that Jungwoo was being so sensitive. For Yoonseo, however, it was understandable. He probably felt uncomfortable. Anyway, Yoonseo, look closely. I cleaned up here today so it's tidy. It might be annoying to go up and down the stairs, but there's a separate bathroom so you can use it just for yourself, Hyunwoo said, still trying to convince her to stay. I know it's an incredibly generous offer, given the situation, but I can't repay this. No matter how close we are, this just feels like too much, she admitted, feeling guilty. Hyunwoo reminded her of their middle school days when he had struggled alone, on the verge of going down the wrong path. She had stuck by him even when he was annoying and had looked out for him. He had been grateful for her support back then and had made a promise to himself that he would repay her someday. But when her parents passed away in high school, she hadn't said anything. She hadn't wanted to burden him, knowing he had exams coming up. What she didn't know was how much guilt that had placed on him back then. Jungwoo was standing by the door, listening to their conversation. Until you find another place, I'll allow you to stay here. But I'll definitely charge you rent, he said. That irritated Yoonseo. Okay, I'll definitely pay it, she replied, making Hyunwoo smile, relieved that it had finally worked out. How is it that Jungwoo Appa hasn't changed at all? She muttered, annoyed. She already knew it was going to be difficult to get along with him. He's smart enough to remember my 3-digit ranking, so why the heck won't he use my name? Why should I be nice to someone like that? She grumbled. Watching the sunset over the city, Hyunwoo just stood there unable to answer. Well, don't worry about it. He's the landlord's brother. Even if he's not friendly, he won't pick a fight. Besides, I'll just avoid him as much as possible while I'm here, okay? She said with a smile. Well, that's what she thought. She had no idea what his real reason was for returning to the city. She found out the next day at the office, when Jungwoo walked in and introduced himself as the new head of the department. As Han Yoonseo was tying up her hair, she heard someone calling her name. Stepping out to the stairs, she asked Hyunwoo if it was him. He nodded and offered her a ride to work. She hesitated for a moment, wondering what would happen if someone saw them together. Rumors could easily spread within the company. Noticing her hesitation, Hyunwoo reassured her. If you're worried about rumors, I can drop you off near the office instead, he said with a knowing smile. Yoonseo couldn't help, but smiled back and agreed. On the way, Hyunwoo casually mentioned that his brother had left early that morning. A wave of relief washed over Yoonseo. At least she wouldn't have to run into him first thing in the morning. Last night, standing on the rooftop, Yoonseo and Hyunwoo watched the sun setting over the city. The warm hues painted the sky as they talked. How can someone stay exactly the same after 15 years? Yoonseo wondered aloud. I doubt he's ever had a proper relationship with that attitude. She reassured Hyunwoo, telling him there was no need to worry. She would avoid his brother as much as possible. Just then, a voice came from behind. Oh, you really think it's going to be that easy? Yoonseo froze. Turning around, she found herself face to face with Jungwoo. He hadn't left. Panic crept into her voice. How much did you hear? Jungwoo smirked. From the beginning? Without waiting for an answer, he leaned in slightly. Well, good luck avoiding me, he said, his voice dripping with amusement. The present back at the office, Yoonseo replayed last night's conversation in her head. She needed a solid plan to avoid Jungwoo at home. A strong, steady voice suddenly filled the office. As long as I'm here, I will strive to bring out the full potential of each individual. Yoonseo blinked in confusion. That voice, it sounded familiar. She turned her head and saw her coworkers whispering, their eyes fixed on the new director. He's really good looking, isn't he? One of them gushed, and then it hit her. This was why Jungwoo had told her to try her best to avoid him. Snapped. Out of her thoughts, Yoonseo heard her colleague calling her name. You've been spacing out a lot. Did you finish moving in? You said you'd invite us over for a housewarming party. Yoonseo forced a smile and nodded. She had bragged about it so much last week, there was no way she could admit she had been scammed. Her colleague then brought up the new director. He's Hyunwoo's brother, right? Do you know him? Before Yoonseo could answer, the new director, Jungwoo, started walking toward them. She stiffened as her colleague introduced herself. Graphic designer Yoon Ji-young, nice to meet you. Jungwoo responded with a polite nod before his gaze landed on Eun-seo. Han Eun-seo, Hyunwoo's friend. Nice to meet you. Eun-seo felt her face heat up. She had no idea how to react. Ji-young, noticing her pale expression, raised an eyebrow. Did something happen between you two? Eun-seo quickly shook her head. I don't remember. But her mind was spinning. It was the first time Jungwoo had ever called her by her first name, and he had definitely heard everything she said last night. Called to his office later that day, while Eun-seo was at her desk, she was suddenly summoned to Jungwoo's office. She panicked. Had she done something wrong? As she walked through the office, whispers followed her. The rumors had already started. Stepping into the room, she saw Jungwoo sitting at his desk. Without a word, he lifted his hand slightly. Was he waving her over, or was he just messing with her? Annoyed, Eun-seo turned to leave, but Jungwoo's voice stopped her. Come here. Reluctantly, she approached his desk. You have a bit of a quirky side, he said casually. That only irritated her more, though she tried to hide it. But to her surprise, Jungwoo continued. I reviewed your work. It's quite good. Eun-seo blinked. Did he just compliment her? He then gave her a few detailed suggestions, and she had to admit, they were spot on. Despite it being his first day, he was already this sharp. She had expected him to summon her just to pick a fight, but his feedback was actually precise. Lost. In thought, she barely registered his next words. What do you think? Jungwoo asked. Huh? His expression didn't change. About the fact that someone you wanted to avoid at all costs is now your director. She had no words. He leaned back slightly. Matters of work can go through the team leader, but I wanted to hear your thoughts directly. His smirk deepened. Now that we'll be seeing each other at work and at home, are you still sure you can avoid me? Eun-seo's face burned with frustration and embarrassment. After work outside the office, Eun-seo stormed up to Hyunwoo. Why didn't you tell me your brother was becoming the division director? Hyunwoo grinned. Because if I did, you wouldn't have come to work? Eun-seo glared at him. You're the worst. He shrugged. Jungwoo wanted to be more involved in company matters because of upcoming projects and deadlines. Still fuming, she muttered a curse under her breath. Hyunwoo laughed. You know, he's right behind you. Eun-seo froze. Turning around slowly, she realized Hyunwoo was just messing with her. Her glare sharpened. Do that again, and it'll cost you your life. All she wanted now was to go home. But Hyunwoo wasn't done. Did you read the company news? He asked, still smirking. She frowned. No, why? Tonight is the company dinner to welcome the new director. Eun-seo froze again. Just when she thought she could finally escape him, she had to face Jungwoo again. The bar was buzzing with laughter and clinking glasses. Everyone seemed more cheerful than usual, the air thick with excitement and the bitter scent of beer. Eun-seo sat quietly, sipping her drink, her gaze drifting over her colleagues as they enjoyed themselves. This vibe is so different tonight, she thought, surprised at how lively the atmosphere was. It's definitely because of the new chairman, one of the girls giggled, leaning in with a sly grin. He's so good-looking. Honestly, he's got this whole cool and distant vibe going for him. They're brothers, but they couldn't be more different, another chimed in. Hyunwoo's warm and easygoing, but the director, he's cold, mysterious. Eun-seo shifted uncomfortably, trying to keep her expression neutral. She could feel the attention slowly turning toward her. Hey, Ji-young said, eyes narrowing mischievously. Didn't Director Jungwoo call you into his office the other day? One of the girls gasped. Seriously? Just because they're brothers doesn't mean you have to get close to him too, Eun-seo. He only gave me feedback on my work, Eun-seo replied quickly, waving it off. As Manager Lee said, them being brothers doesn't automatically mean, I know both of them. We're not close. Ji-young sighed in disappointment, clearly hoping for some juicy drama. Eun-seo's thoughts wandered. She remembered standing in Jungwoo's office, feeling the weight of his eyes on her, the cold tone of his words. She had told her colleagues nothing happened, but honestly, not talking to him at all might have been even better. Feeling the pressure from their prying eyes and teasing smiles, Yoonseo downed her drink a little too quickly. The alcohol hit harder than expected. And soon she found herself outside, leaning against the wall, her thoughts swirling. "That man is weird," she muttered under her breath, staring up at the night sky. Her mind drifted to high school, to another time when Jungwoo had acted strangely. But back then, just like now, no one cared. His looks seemed to excuse everything. As the cool night air sobered her up slightly, she sighed and tried to head back inside. But just as she took a step, her heel caught between the wooden boards of the deck. She stumbled and fell hard, cheeks burning with embarrassment. "Ugh, great," she grumbled, brushing herself off and walking back in, only to freeze as she saw Jungwoo standing there watching her. Later, Eun-seo sat on a bench, holding her head in her hands as the room spun around her. "Yoonseo, are you okay?" Hyunwoo's gentle voice cut through the haze. "I'm fine. I just need to rest for a bit," she replied weakly, waving him off. Hyunwoo looked worried, stepping closer, but in her drunken state, Yoonseo managed to elbow him in the stomach, knocking the wind out of him. "Oof, okay," he gasped, holding up his hands. Before he could try again, their colleagues dragged him away, pulling him into another round of drinks. From her corner, Yoonseo watched the crowd dance and laugh. Miss Ji-young and Manager Lee still have so much energy. "I'd love to go home, but I don't want to kill the mood," she thought, sighing. Suddenly, she felt a presence beside her. She turned her head slowly and blinked. Jungwoo was standing there. Without a word, he removed his coat and gently draped it over her lap. She stared at him, confused. "I don't need—" Then she noticed it. Her skirt, torn from the fall. Her face turned scarlet. Thank you," she whispered. Jungwoo's brow furrowed. "Is it normal for you to have such poor self-control? A woman your age should know her limits." Her embarrassment turned to irritation. "That's none of your business. Whether I drink myself into oblivion or not, it has nothing to do with you." "What if something happened to you on the way home?" he shot back. "Would you know how to deal with it? Take better care of yourself." His words hit a nerve. Yoonseo's eyes narrowed. Fueled by alcohol and frustration, she grabbed him by the tie, pulling him closer until their faces were inches apart. "You are so annoying," she hissed into his ear. The room went silent. All eyes were on them, confused and intrigued. Hyunwoo stood frozen, unsure whether to intervene. Jungwoo didn't flinch. "Do you really enjoy bothering me?" Yoonseo leaned back slightly. "I admit I was wrong yesterday, but you weren't completely right either. Why are you always acting like some self-righteous prick?" Her eyes flicked over his face. "I get it. You're good-looking, so you think you can get away with anything." She suddenly placed a finger on his lips. "If you just stayed quiet like this, you'd be perfect." Jungwoo blinked, clearly flustered. "If I stay quiet and act like a gentleman, would that make me your type?" Yoonseo met his gaze, smirking. Maybe." Then her face twisted. Her stomach churned. "Oh no," she murmured, clamping her hand over her mouth. Ji-young's eyes widened. "Wait, Yoonseo, are you—" Too late. Before anyone could react, Yoonseo lurched forward, and Jungwoo's expensive suit bore the brunt of the aftermath. Yoonseo stirred, her head pounding and heavy as if bricks had been stacked inside her skull. Her eyes fluttered open, squinting at the unfamiliar ceiling above. Panic rose in her chest. "Where am I?" She sat up slowly, her vision swimming. Her clothes clung uncomfortably to her skin. The same outfit from yesterday. Her mind was a blank canvas, smeared only with fragments she couldn't piece together. Anxiety tightened in her chest. Did I black out? She scanned the room, clean, bright, and oddly homey. Then she heard a faint clatter from nearby. Cautiously, she stepped out of the room and followed the scent of something warm and savory. In the kitchen, Hyunwoo stood at the stove stirring, a pot with focused ease. Yoonso's voice was barely a whisper, laced with unease. "Good morning." Hyunwoo turned, smiling warmly. "Morning. Feeling any better? Did you sleep well?" Relief washed over her. His calm, friendly tone felt normal. Nothing seemed out of place. No weird tension. Maybe I didn't do anything. Embarrassing, after all. Yoonso walked over, glancing at the bubbling pot. "You're amazing, Hyunwoo. Seriously. You cook? You clean? Someone needs to marry you already," he chuckled, shaking his head. "Hard to do when you're single." Yoonseo laughed softly, but suddenly the world began to spin again. Her breath hitched as flashes from last night flickered in her mind. Blurry, scattered memories. Hyunwoo carrying her on his back, smiling, heroic. The ideal man. She sighed dreamily. He must have carried me home. So kind. So reliable. Her fantasy popped like a soap bubble when Hyunwoo casually said, "Hey, can you wake up Jungwoo? Breakfast is almost ready." Yoonseo froze. "Jungwoo? Me? Sure." The last thing she wanted was to face him after a blackout, but under pressure she nodded reluctantly. As she approached the guest room door, dread coiled in her stomach. Not from the hangover, but the memory of Jungwoo's sharp gaze and sharp tongue. She raised her hand to knock. Slam. The door flew open. Startled, Yoonseo lost her balance and tumbled to the floor with a yelp. Blinking up, she froze. Jungwoo stood over her in just sweatpants, his toned upper body on full display. Her face turned crimson. "I wasn't peeking. Hyunwoo sent me. Breakfast, it's ready." Her words came out in a rushed jumble. Jungwoo chuckled and offered his hand. "You okay? Didn't hit anything, did you? Be more careful." His gentle tone only made her more flustered. She took his hand and got to her feet, her eyes darting away. Later, after breakfast, Yoonseo gathered the dishes. "I'll take care of these," she offered, trying to busy herself and avoid eye contact. As she rinsed plates, she glanced over her shoulder. "Why are you still here anyway?" Jungwoo leaned against the counter. "Because I live here?" He smirked. "And you're not the housekeeper, by the way." Yoonseo's face heated up again. She had meant to nag him, but now she just felt awkward. Then Jungwoo's voice softened. "By the way, stop calling me director. When we're home, just call." "Me, Jungwoo." Her eyes widened. Why is he suddenly being so normal? She glanced at him, confused. Jungwoo caught her stare. "What's with that look?" he teased. "Is your stomach acting up again?" Yoonseo blinked. "What? No, I'm just..." She paused. "Why are you being nice all of a sudden?" He raised an eyebrow. "Isn't this what you wanted? You said I always pick fights and rely on my looks to get away with things." She stared blankly. "I said..." "What? You don't remember?" He smirked. "Drunk words are honest words, Yoonseo." Her mind went blank. She didn't remember saying anything like that. Her heart pounded in panic. Flashback. Last night. The night air was chilly as Jungwoo trudged up the stairs. Yoonseo slung over his back like a sack of rice. "These stairs are the worst." She mumbled into his shoulder, giggling. "Hyunwoo, you're the best. Carry me faster." Jungwoo gritted his teeth. "I'm not Hyunwoo," he muttered. "Seriously, I carry you all the way here and you can't even get my name right." Finally reached the apartment, dropping her onto the bed with a sigh. His back ached, and he ran a hand through his hair, exhausted. "You should at least wash up before sleeping," he muttered. As he turned to leave, Yoonseo's hand shot out, grabbing his wrist. She tugged him back and suddenly pulled him onto the bed, right into her lap. "What the..." Jungwoo stared at her, stunned. In a soft, sleepy voice, she murmured, "You nag too much. What do I have to do to shut your mouth?"